8 crew members, 200 miles from land, sleep in bunks barely wider than their shoulders, risking their lives for fish that may or may not pay off. In How Commercial Fishing Crews Eat, Sleep, and Work at Sea, you'll discover why this job is 30 times deadlier than most, and how a single mistake on a vessel no bigger than a suburban house can erase months of labor. But what convinces people to choose life at the edge of survival, and what does it actually cost to keep going? A commercial fishing vessel stretches just 100 to 200 feet from bow to stern, yet this narrow hull must contain everything: sleeping quarters, galley, engine room, and a work deck crowded with heavy machinery. 8 to 15 people pack into these steel corridors, living and working side by side for weeks or even months. There is no room to spare. The bunks are stacked 2 or thus high, with barely enough space to sit up. Hallways are so tight that crew must turn sideways to pass. Every square foot is claimed by gear, storage, or the tools of survival. The sea, meanwhile, keeps its distance, sometimes 200 miles from the nearest coastline. Once the vessel leaves port, there is no quick return. Crew members are surrounded by open water on all sides, cut off from land and the routines of ordinary life. The boat becomes its own world. Every action, every meal, every hour of rest happens within these close walls. Isolation magnifies the pressure. On shore, a house this size might hold a small family. At sea, it holds a working community, each person relying on the others for safety and survival. The vessel's compact design means that living space doubles as workspace, and every movement is shaped by the need to avoid injury in a place where help is days away. This density, both physical and social, sets the stage for everything that follows. In this environment, risk is not just a possibility, it's a constant companion, woven into the very structure of life offshore. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, commercial fishing remains one of the deadliest jobs in America, with a fatality rate over 30 times higher than the national average. Every day at sea is shaped by a relentless work cycle that repeats itself without pause, dictating when crews can rest, eat, or even take a breath. The rhythm starts with setting the gear, deploying nets as long as a passenger jet, using steel doors and cables heavy enough to crush a car. Deckhands move quickly, working in sync to make sure everything is secured before the next phase begins. Once the gear is in the water, towing starts. For the next several hours, the vessel drags its nets through the deep, searching for the right patch of ocean. This is the only time the crew might catch a brief moment of calm. Maybe a hot drink in the galley, maybe a few minutes of sleep, but always with one ear tuned to the engine and the weather. The real danger comes with haulback. Retrieving the nets means handling cables stretched under tons of tension. A single mistake or mechanical failure can turn a steel line into a deadly whip. Injuries and fatalities are most likely to happen here, when fatigue meets force. Once the catch is on board, the processing phase begins. Decks are slick with seawater, ice, and fish as the crew sorts, guts, and freezes the hull before it spoils. Then, without warning, the cycle starts again. Meals and sleep are squeezed into the gaps, dictated by the demands of the next set: tow, haul back, and process. This unbroken loop is the heartbeat of life offshore, where the only constant is the next round of work. On deck, every movement happens under the watchful eye of the deck boss. The machinery that powers a commercial fishing vessel is built for scale, not forgiveness. Hydraulic winches, each the size of an oiled drum, haul steel cables that can weigh hundreds of pounds and stretch across the deck like tripwires. These cables, under thousands of pounds of tension, are coiled and uncoiled as nets are set and hauled. If a cable snaps, it whips through the air with enough force to shatter bone or kill instantly. There is no warning, just the crack of steel and the aftermath. The deck itself is a shifting stage. During haulback, fish, ice, and seawater coat every surface. Boots lose traction, and one misstep can send a crew member sliding toward machinery or overboard. The noise is constant. Engines rumble, Winches groan, steel grinds against steel. Communication happens in shouts or gestures, often drowned out by the wind and the roar of the sea. Rough weather magnifies every hazard. Waves slam the hull, sending spray and cold across the deck. Gear that was secure in calm seas shifts unexpectedly. Even routine tasks, guiding a net, securing a shackle, become survival exercises. The deck boss scans for danger, calling out when a line looks ready to part or a machine groans under strain. Stopping the operation, even for a minute, means risking the day's catch and the crew's pay. But hesitation is deadly. On this deck, the line between work and disaster is measured in seconds and inches. Deep within the hull, the engine room takes up nearly a quarter of the vessel's entire length. Here, diesel engines, pumps, and refrigeration units run without pause, driving the ship's lights, hydraulics, and the cold storage that keeps each catch from spoiling. The constant thrum of machinery never fades. Vibration and mechanical noise bleed through every bulkhead, day and night, forming a relentless pulse that crew members call the heartbeat of the boat. The engineer is the guardian of this world. While deckhands battle the elements above, the engineer's job is to keep the vessel alive below. There is no backup plan. If a pump fails or the engine stalls, the risk is immediate. Without propulsion, a storm can push the vessel broadside to the waves, threatening a capsize. Refrigeration breakdowns endanger not just the catch, but the entire trip's profit. Every repair is a race against time, often with limited tools and spare parts, miles from the nearest harbor. Above the engine room, authority is organized by a strict chain of command. The captain holds ultimate responsibility, navigating through storms, weighing fuel against weather, and making hard calls when equipment falters. The deck boss enforces safety and keeps the crew in sync during high-risk operations. The engineer answers directly to the captain, trusted to make split-second decisions that can mean the difference between a safe return and disaster. On a commercial fishing vessel, these roles are not just titles, they are survival. Every member's actions, from the engine room to the wheelhouse, are bound by a shared understanding. The machinery must not fail, and neither can the people who keep it running. Every member of the crew is tied to the outcome of the trip. Their pay determined by a strict share system. The vessel owner usually takes about a quarter of the profit, the captain around 15%, and the engineer and deck boss each claim 6 to 8%. What's left is split among the deckhands, sometimes just enough to cover months of work, sometimes barely enough to matter. This arrangement keeps pressure high. One mistake, one injury, and the whole crew feels it in their pocket. Shifts stretch 12 hours or more, and when the work is done, rest comes in narrow bunks, 6 feet long, 2.5 feet wide, often still warm from the last person. Sleep is shallow, interrupted by the thrum of engines and the constant motion of the sea. Early in the trip, the cook serves fresh bread and vegetables, but as days pass, meals shift to canned goods and whatever holds up to salt and time. Fatigue builds, and the promise of a good payday is sometimes the only thing pushing everyone through the next round of work. A sudden shout from the deck boss can bring everything to a stop. When a line looks ready to snap, or a crew member slips dangerously close to the edge, the order is clear: halt all operations. The stakes are never theoretical. In the cold waters of the North Pacific, a person overboard has about 15 minutes before hypothermia sets in, sometimes less. Drills are routine, not just for compliance, but because survival depends on muscle memory. Fire, abandoned ship, and man overboard drills are run so often that every crew member knows their role by heart. On a real call, there's no time for doubt. The captain and deck boss will sacrifice a day's catch if it means saving a life. On this deck, profit always comes second to survival. The relief after a close call is brief, but it's real. A reminder that out here, every decision can mean the difference between rescue and tragedy. Commercial fishing crews face a fatality rate 30 times higher than the national average, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Their work unfolds in confined quarters. with up to 15 people sharing space for months, enduring relentless shifts and industrial hazards. Every dollar earned reflects a system where profit and survival are inseparable, enforced by the share system and constant vigilance. Yet, despite decades of documented risk and improvements in safety drills, the exact number of near misses and unreported incidents remains unknown, as many records are not publicly released. What is clear, no automation or modern equipment has eliminated the dangers of the sea. The evidence shows that every meal, every hour of sleep, and every decision is shaped by collective responsibility and the thin margin between success and tragedy. This is the daily reality for those who feed the world from offshore, where teamwork and resilience remain their most effective tools for survival.